Some of you are probably well acquainted with the command line. If you work on Mac or a Linux system, you've undoubtedly encountered the terminal window at some point or another. If you're familiar with working with, say, Node.js or Grunt.js, you'll probably use it all the time. And if that's the case, you can go ahead and skip this movie because you probably know a lot more about it than I do. If, on the other hand, you're like me and you very rarely use it, a quick refresher on how it works can't hurt. Now, if you're on a Windows machine, this is not the same as opening up the console window. This is using the terminal, which is all bash scripting, at least what we're doing. So you might want to wait until after you've watched the movie on installing Git for Windows, because when we do that, we're going to have a bash emulator that installs as well. And then after that, you can come back to this movie and open up the emulator and do the exact same things we're doing here. This is really just finding our way around the terminal. There's nothing that we're doing here that is germane to using the exercise files or completing an exercise. It's really sort of getting comfortable in this environment. Now you'll notice in my screen here, I've got a Finder window opened up here on the right-hand side. And I've browsed out to the desktop where I've copied my exercise files, so I can find them right here on the desktop. Now, we're all probably used to using the Finder window or the Windows Explorer in a Windows machine, but we can do the exact same thing using the terminal in terms of navigating around. Okay, so if terminal is not open, go ahead and open up a terminal window. And I'm just going to go in and type in a few things to sort of get an idea of where I am right now. First thing I'm going to type in is PWD, which does not stand for password, oddly enough. It stands for present working directory. And when I click on that, it tells me that I am at the /users/James Williamson, which of course is the user account for this machine. Now, you'll also notice that in the command line here, we've got this little tilde. That tilde represents this path. So if I ever need to go back to this particular folder, or sometimes referred to as the root folder or the home folder, all I have to do is type in a tilde. So I don't have to type in the whole path anytime that I need to navigate someplace. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I want to actually look inside those exercise files that we have out there on the desktop. I could do CD, which is change directory. And then instead of typing in users/James Williamson, I can just type in a tilde, and it represents that whole path. Now I can do a /desktop. And then another /exercise_files. When I hit return, notice that the address on the left-hand side changes and the tilde is no longer represented, but exercise_files is. And that tells me that I'm currently in that directory. Now, if I want to see what's in that particular folder, I can type in ls, and that's a list. I can see that it has directories called Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and then one called Resources as well. That's kind of neat. Now, if I wanted to, I could create a folder directly from here. I could type in mkdir, which is make directory, and then space, and then I'm just going to type in terminal since that's what we're doing. And when I hit return, notice that over there in the Finder window, I now have a terminal folder that I didn't have before. So it's the same as going in the Finder, telling it I want a new folder, and then naming the folder, which is really cool. Now, you can also remove it. So I could type in rm space -r space terminal. Hit return, and it's going to delete it for me. Now, if I ever want to go back to my home folder, all I have to do is type in cd, tilde, hit return. It takes me back. And if I type in ls now, I can see that I have desktop, documents, downloads, library, movies, music, pictures, and a public folder. So that's giving me sort of those top level directories. All right, so this is not designed to turn you into a command line warrior. I know this is really basic stuff, but it's just really designed for those of you who haven't played around with terminal before, or maybe, when you see somebody doing it, you're like, ugh, that looks horrible. I never want to do that. It's just designed to kind of get you comfortable. You need to get a feel for what it's actually doing in terms of manipulating files, running commands, that sort of thing. So you can see over in the Finder window, it was actually doing stuff the same way that you can do within Finder. So we're going to be using this command line for the remainder of the chapter. And if you've never used it before, don't panic. I promise I'm not trying to convert you into using it all the time, but you need to be aware of the fact that the GitHub applications, the desktop applications that we're going to be using a little bit later on, it features only a really small subset of Git's capabilities and commands. And as your projects are going to grow more complex over time, you're going to find yourself needing to do some things that are outside of those applications' abilities. And when that happens, you're going to have to turn to the command line. So it's a good idea to become more comfortable with it now.